Thank you, Jacob. It was a very good presentation there. Well, I feel a little uncomfortable being the only farmer among all the scientists here today, but unfortunately, I've been farming for a long time, and I'll share with you a few of our stories. Believe it or not, I've been farming and raising pigs for over 50 years. I'm in my early 60s, and I'm tired. It's been a lot of work, and but it's been really neat and very unique. A couple of things I'll share with you. Being able to raise pigs for over a 50-year span, I've been one of the few people that was able to raise pigs and started out in the pastures and in the dirt. And I had my first litter of pigs when I was about 7 years of age. And basically, we started building a little concrete to help separate the feed from the mud. And then the next thing we started doing was we started building a floor that we could separate the pigs from the mud. And the next thing, we started putting a shed to keep the snow and the ice off the pigs. And until what you see today is we've gone through this whole evolution of from the ground to the dirt to what we call today a modern commercial operation. And what's neat, and I'll share this with you just for trivia, we used to, the bread and butter of our pork operation is the mother sows. And we've always wanted to protect them, and we realized that if we could put 25 pig mothers together, that they would do very well. And the next thing we figured out, if we could put 10 to a pen, it would even do better. The next thing we figured out, we could put 5. And lo and behold, one day we realized that if we could isolate that one individual animal, she had no mortality and was the most productive state in the history of our industry. But due to public pressures today that we have throughout the industry and customers, they don't like that image of confinement today. And so now we're actually regressing some, where we're actually going back to, putting 5 to 10 to 15 pigs to the pen. So, but I will state this, in all of my years of raising pigs, the ultimate goal that we were able to accomplish from a production and performance and just absolute observation of that female animal and her performance was when we were able to really protect her and isolate her from all the other animals and separate her from her manure and her feed and those type of things and give her the fresh air and the climate that was necessary for her, and that was our optimum point. And unfortunately, we're kind of digressing back due to public pressures today, and so our facilities will change over time. I wanted to share with you a few things on the numbers today, and I'll try to relate this. When I got out of college, and I had the fortunate opportunity to go to NC State, got a degree in animal science, and got out in 1977. It was pretty unique. 1977, I had a job, I had a diploma, I had $3 in my pocket, but I didn't owe anybody any money. So I felt like I was pretty unique. But the point I want to make here is in 1977, we had about 650,000 pig farms in the United States. And today, we're down in the mid-60s in farming operations. And that gives me some concern. I don't want to bore you with the gross sales and the number of pigs we have. You guys probably already know that, maybe don't even care. But one thing I would love to share with you are some numbers that have always stood out in my mind. I had the fortunate opportunity to serve as president of the National Pork Producers for the United States. And that's a long, drawn-out task. And if you were a little kid and you were in college and you were interviewing, you says, I want to become president of the National Pork Producers for the United States, you couldn't do it if you tried. You have to be in the right spot, the right place, the right time. It's a circumstance of events when you're dealing with all these producers from all over the United States. And so, but that was one of my proudest moments that I had, was being able to serve. But when you take that responsibility as president for the National Pork Producers, you get a chance to travel. I think the year that I was president, I traveled 200 days that year. 30 countries, been in about every U.S. embassy in the world, and it's all about sitting down, trying to market and talk about our products. And the one thing I can tell you is that regardless of where you go in this globe, and I've been to a lot of different places, the United States has some of the safest food in the world. And I'll mark my reputation with that because I truly believe it. Even though you hear a lot of neat things coming out of Europe, it's at the end of the day, we have done an admirable job in what we've been able to produce. What I want to leave here with you on these numbers, though, we're down to 60-some thousand farms today. Most of the producers are my age or older. And as I said earlier, we're all tired. We have to work 7 days a week, or someone has to help us get there to feed those animals every day. I've crossed lines a little bit and get into the poultry and the dairy. Once again, when I graduated from school, a dairy cow could produce about 12,000 pounds of milk. Today, the technology is there to produce 30,000 pounds of milk. The egg, I never saw an egg laid in my life by a chicken, and grew up on the farm my whole life until I was in NC State, and they gave them a shot of oxytocin, and right before my eyes, an egg dropped out. So that will upset a farm boy. You know, when I go home and I tell my father I saw a chicken lay an egg today, and he thought I was lying. But I did see that with my own eyes, and I understood how powerful drugs, hormones, those type of things were. And the interesting thing is, as productive as the eggs are, in the early 70s, a hen could produce about 240 or 50 eggs per year. Today, they're producing 325, 330 eggs per year. And my point here is that we're producing just an abundant amount of pork today. The numbers are unbelievable. We have the technology that's been incorporated into the food system is unbelievable. And the one point I want to take away is, with maximum egg production, maximum pork production, maximum beef production, maximum milk production, do you realize that as we sit here today, that we only have the capacity in this country, in the United States, and the United States is a leader in food production around the globe. We've been the policemen of the world for the last 50 years, and we will feed the world the next 50. We'll have that social responsibility. But what happened today in the United States, we only have 3/4 of an egg per person per day allocated today. As many eggs as those hens can produce, and as much as we can achieve, we only have the capacity for 3/4 of an egg per person per day. Beef cattle, the cow numbers, the mama cow that raises the calf, those numbers are at a historical low. They're lower today than any time in my lifetime. The cow numbers. And that's one reason beef is very expensive today. Pork, you know, we're just one downturn in the market or one influenza or something from, you know, a large percentage of our pork producers vacating the business. And my point here is, with everything going perfect, it seems to be, in food production and in our economy and our world, it scares me to look at the limited amount of food resources we have. We think, and everybody probably in this room think, we have an abundant supply. We do not have an abundant supply of food. We have an adequate supply. And as Paula had mentioned earlier, you know, we're going to 9 and 10 billion people in this world by 2025, 2030. It will force us to have to double the food capacity of our facilities, our output, in order to just maintain. And that's where the biotechnology will really come into play over time. These are a couple of companies here. I just wanted to share with you that you may see some of these companies. Here are some of like the top 25 pork producers in the United States. We have a couple of companies from North Carolina here. In the processing facilities today, we process about 40,000 pigs per day under USDA inspected slaughter. I have a list, or was able to obtain a list of about 400 of those, of the major packing companies around the United States. My operation today, I strictly specialize in the mother sow. We raise about 94,000 pigs up to a small weight that go on to the feedlots. And we have a contract with one of the companies, Smithfield, and we really do enjoy that agreement. We also have a barbecue pig. I don't know if any of you have had the North Carolina custom of having a pig picking. Well, believe it or not, I have one of the smallest plants that were on that page there. I don't even get on that big list of all the processing, but I do have a USDA facility that we do barbecue pigs, and that's one of the things we specialize in. We produced about 60-some thousand barbecue pigs out of our plant last year, in which we may have produced half of those pigs ourselves, which is a high-quality product and a traditional celebratory type function here in North Carolina. You know, as you look at what controls our destiny and our operations, you know, consumer preferences. Yeah, as I told you earlier, I really, as a farmer, really liked the observation of that female sow in her isolated condition. And she performed, she was healthy, and I could observe that she was comfortable. But not many people see that. So with us modifying our facilities, you know, allowing more room, more opportunities, everybody thinks we've got to kind of go back to raising that pig in an open pasture lot. That's our adversaries, that's the ultimate goal that they want us to achieve. And that's what they're really hoping that we will get back to. And once again, it's just incomprehensible to me that that could ever be achieved again. But consumers are dictating what we do with our animals today. We have a social license to produce pigs. I am a pork farmer, very proud pork farmer. I've been, I think, an efficient producer. I've worked hard at it. I've kind of masked my expertise into this business. But at the end of the day, we have to sit down and listen to our customers. And if they wanted a hormone-free, antibiotic-free, if they want that animal to have more room, more traditional type environments, we have to adapt to that. And so everything is predicated on consumer preferences. I'll share with you one other story. Being national pork producers, I get a chance to sit down with some of the big guys sometime, like McDonald's. And now that I don't have any obligation, I'm retired from that process, I can kind of really talk like I really want to. You know, I was sitting in there, and all of these corporations today hire these sustainable officers. Every corporation today, now, boom, up about one notch under the CEO is what they call a sustainable officer. And it's just one of these guys that wants everything recycled. He's an environmentalist. Everything is perfect in this guy's world, and he sees utopia. And so, sure, I'm sitting down with the CEO of McDonald's in Chicago, and he brings the sustainable officer in, and they're talking about wanting us to remove our individual stalls from our pork operations across the country, and they want to give us 10 years to transition. And I'm just sitting there as an old farmer from North Carolina, says, why wait so long? You know? And at the end of the day, I asked the guy from McDonald's, I said, you know, once again, you're a customer, we'll adapt to whatever you need. But you have to understand, if this is what you want, that producer out there that's raising that pig, he has the final decision on whether or not he wants to adapt and sell you product. I can't make that producer sell you pork. I can't make that producer do this. I represent 70-some thousand pork producers across the United States. Each one of them are individual. And you have to convince those producers that this is something we need to do. Let me just take a couple of seconds here. I'm getting kind of short here. Biotech, we think, equals efficiency. and that we've made a lot of advances in genetics and nutrition. Once again, let me go back to my college years. When I was in animal feeds and feeding at NC State, we were balancing feed formulas. The only thing we would do was least cost formulate. We would take corn and soybean meal, and there were the only two components that we used in balancing a formula. And we least cost formulate, and we had to figure that out. It's a relative mixture and relationship between protein and energy. Today at our farm, we may have 15 ingredients into our feed. And every ingredient, corn today, for example, we have 100, we've been able to develop and determine and define 100 nutrient specifications within corn itself, within soybean meal. So the computers today, when they're doing our feed formulation, they're not taking, and I just remember this, you'll like this, soybean meal is like 44% protein, and it has a small amount of energy. Corn has high energy, but maybe 8 or 9% protein. Well, today we're looking at that ingredient. We've measured 100 components of that one ingredient that we're balancing with a computer to determine all the flow of what we're trying to do is metabolize and utilize all of the available nutrients in every ingredient in our animal. And today, where we used to produce pigs at 220 pounds, today that pig is going to 300, and we're doing it with a little over 2.3 pounds of feed. It's absolutely amazing. I think pretty interesting, since the early 60s, the hogs marketed have increased to 29%. And here's one really unique thing. As I told you earlier, our breeding herd, the mothers, the maternal inside, we have been able to decrease the number of females that we need in our business today by 39%. And we're able to just, once again, it gets back to that dairy care that could produce 12,000 now, today, 20-some thousand. I think what's important here is the carbon footprint. We've been able to perfect this system down to a point that we've been able to reduce water. We've been able to reduce our land. And what most of the scientists that are looking at today, especially those sustainable offices at McDonald's, carbon footprint. And we've been able to document that. Once again, 650,000 farms down to 60-some today. That's a scary deal from, I think. Looking ahead, from a biotech standpoint, we really have been able to just do some amazing work in the genome mapping and the transgenic genes. One of my things that I truly believe in, Paula, is that over time, as we get better in selecting and utilizing the gene mapping of the pig, we will be able to take those genes and start selecting for different traits, different immunities to different diseases, and different processes, which I think at some point in time will have a significant impact on any type of supplements or medications that are being used in that. I truly believe today that if we start out with a perfect clean herd, and I have one of those farms, believe it or not, that we can get by without medicines and medications. But it is really nice to be able to have that in your back pocket. You have to have the right, you have to have the privilege, and the public has to give the farmer that social license again to be able to discreetly use that when it's needed. I have to share with you one thing on the genetic side. As I said, traveling as president of National Pork, I went to see a lot of things. And a couple of things I learned really quick. That today, most of our farms that we're building across the country, we're putting nice horse stables out front of the pig farms. We're building several $100,000 worth of horse stables, and then we build a pig farm behind it. We never have any problems with our neighbors. We turn around sometimes. You've heard of as we're talking about the transgenic genes and basically cloning an animal, and everybody has different beliefs on that. I'm not trying to get into a debate on that, whether you are for it or not. All I can tell you that I'm seeing some really unique advantages in the biomedical side of that side. I've been to several labs around the world that, you know, you can see them take the mitochondria DNA out of a cell and they put it up on the screen while you're sitting back there in a sterile environment, and they put it into a pig gene and boom. And if you ever wanted to look at cloning, everybody has a cloned sheep who has dual, you know, 2 sheep, 2 calves, 2 chickens or whatever. If you really want to see how they perfect cloning, is go to a farm that the mother sow has just had 12 spotted Poland China pigs, and every spot is identical on every pig, and that's a unique sight. So with that, maybe later on this evening we can take some questions, but it's been a pleasure to visit with you a little bit, and looking forward to the other speakers.